Hi, church. Last time I mentioned some of the hymn writers who had undergone a great deal of personal tragedy and suffering and the impact that that had made on their writing. And I mentioned Fanny Crosby, and I decided that it would be good to pursue Fanny's story a little bit today. Fanny Crosby wrote the hymn, Blessed Assurance, Jesus is Mine. Oh, what a foretaste of glory divine, with that rousing chorus. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. She also wrote, To God be the glory, great things he has done. So loved he the world that he gave us his son. But what you may not know about Fanny is that she was blind for almost her entire life. She was born in 1820, and about the age of 1, she got an eye infection that either through mistreatment or through just the lack of knowledge in 1821, she lost her eyesight. And you might think that her parents would have kind of coddled her, would have made excuses for her, but they didn't. They had a deep faith, and they believed that sometimes when God allows one of our senses to be taken away, that it can help sharpen our spiritual sense. And so that was how they raised Fanny. They raised her to be as independent as she possibly could. They raised her to recognize that every gift we have, that everything we have comes from the hand of a loving Father. School wasn't really available to her when she was younger, but her parents and her grandmother particularly poured into her. They read to her constantly, often from the Bible. By the time that Fanny was 5 years old, she could quote the first 5 books of the Bible. That's Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. That's pretty impressive. She had apparently a phenomenal memory. When she was 15, she got her wish and was able to go to school at the New York Institute for the Blind, where she made an immediate impact on the staff, the students, as well as visitors to the school, whom she would often give tours to. She excelled at her studies and also sharpened her gift of poetry. Just an interesting side note, Fanny was actually the first woman to speak before the United States Congress as she addressed some issues regarding her writing and regarding her loss of sight. But Fanny Crosby grew up with this sense that God was a God who could be trusted, that God was a God who loved her, in spite of the difficulties that she had, that God was a God who would use the things that she went through for her good and for his glory. And one of the hymns that she wrote that you may be a little bit less familiar with, but has such great words, it's called All the Way My Savior Leads Me. And I think this was Fanny's testimony. And I wanted to read you some of the words. All the way my Savior leads me, what have I to ask beside? Can I doubt his tender mercy, who through life has been my guide? Heavenly peace, divinest comfort, here by faith in him to dwell, for I know whate'er befall me, Jesus doeth all things well. All the way my Savior leads me, cheers each winding path I tread, gives me grace for every trial, feeds me with the living bread. Though my weary steps may falter and my soul athirst may be, gushing from the rock before me, lo, a spring of joy I see. And that reminded me of a verse in Exodus where Moses is speaking, and he says about God, in your loving kindness you have led the people whom you have redeemed. In your strength you have guided them to your holy habitation. God is a God who faithfully leads the people he has redeemed, who faithfully guides them to himself and to his presence. And today I hope that you would be encouraged by the story of Fanny Crosby, that as you think about her outlook on life, that idea that God would use whatever he takes us through for our good and for his glory. The idea that the Savior leads us all the way, that he comforts us when we are going through difficult times, that he never leaves us. I pray that would be an encouragement to you, and that it would be your testimony as well, that the Savior does all things well.